Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. Welcome, guys. Hope everyone's doing great. How are my insiders? Let us know who's watching and how your weekend was. How are you there, man?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
My weekend was great. My weekend was jam-packed with martial arts related things that we're going to get into.
Nice.
And
Yeah,
one
same
of
here.
which that I want to touch on like heavily is the Virtual Fight Tour, because we are also sponsored by the Virtual Fight Tour.
That's right.
Virtual
That's
Fight
right.
Tour 10 was fantastic. It was a great event. You know what was really cool? So this past weekend on Saturday, my buddy Troy Sexton hits me up and he says, "Hey, how far away are you from this town in Wisconsin?" And I'm like, "Well, that's probably like 2 hours from me, but where I'll be, it's probably like 20 minutes." And he says, "What?" I say, he was at this karate school in Wisconsin for a black belt test.
Okay.
So he says, I said, "But homie, I'm DJing a wedding." And he goes, "I'm crashing." I said, "All right, cool. Come with me." Now, here was what I was, so it's like during the dinner portion, right, of when Virtual Fight Tour was going. So I'm watching Virtual Fight Tour side by side with Troy, and we were basically like commenting with each other back and forth. And I'm like,
Okay.
this is like too much to focus on. Plus, I'm having to make dinner announcements. I'm having to play music. Luckily, it's not anything crazy. It's not like I'm, playing party rock anthem. I'm playing
Right.
Louis Armstrong for dinner. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, yeah, it was fun because I got to do that side by side with somebody. Because normally when I watch it, it's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
So I really got into it, and it really made me want to go, if I can, to the next virtual. Well, that's when I can go to the next Virtual Fight Tour. I'm really excited about that one.
That's cool.
We should do that together, man.
Say again?
We should do that together.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We should figure this out. We'll go there. I don't know how. But we're gonna make
Yeah, I know. I've been thinking a lot of that stuff. Of like, all right, how do we get here? How do we get there? All kinds of stuff, man.
It's not a matter of dollars. It's just a matter of time.
Right.
You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? So Jesse, the next time Jeff and I have it available, we're in the building. We're gonna.
Yep. That's right.
How
Here we go.
How did you watch it? What did you do with it?
I was doing a tournament. So again, we're gonna get to that, but I mean, I was still at the tournament competing by the time it was done. So it was a long day. I was judging and stuff, so I was not able to do it. Guys, we got a couple of guys. Mike Bates, thanks for joining us. Is it Tomer? Yep. Hey, man. Thanks for joining us and watching. He's watching on YouTube. Awesome. Yeah, and Mike Bates said you should go and fight.
Thank you. No.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, yeah, guys, Virtual Fight Tour, just from everything that I had seen, highlights, it was a great event, but also like, I mean, let's just say it. Whoever doubts anyone on Team Ben's, like, just don't pick against them. Like,
there was a certain amount of that. So listen, I don't want to rehash what our other great shows on Martial Arts Center Network already touched on.
Right.
But there are some things I really want to get into. So, which do you have like certain fights that you want to talk about?
No, I was just talking like things that were standout points, for me was, again,
go for it.
Just Team Ben's, man, how they have really, I think they've maybe only lost one fight, maybe one, maybe two fights in Virtual Fight Tour. And they've been in at least 10.
I never really thought of it that way.
And I mean, I think that the only one I can think of is, Tyreek, and then he's came back and won, his next two. Wow. Now again, I'm not sure, on certain people might have lost a fight in that big team fight, in the draft team fight. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, I don't think so, so they've won at least four, maybe five team fights. So it's crazy, man. So these guys,
Ben's has got a good thing going on.
They do. They're understanding how to do it. And every time we say, oh, well, this person doesn't have the experience or they haven't been as active, well, that changed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they literally had
All of a sudden they're
5?
experienced.
They had 4 of the fights, 4 of the 5, 6 fights, I
Yeah.
believe, were their school. So amazing job to Troy Benz, working hard, man, doing a great job, and coaching some amazing fighters. And all of them, just their work ethic, man, just always working hard and grinding it out. So was impressed with that.
Absolutely. I think the next one I want to touch on that I'm just like have an equal level of just respect for is the Chris Walker fight. So, because remember, he was not supposed to do a point fight. He was supposed to do a continuous fight.
Right.
And in which in that fight he was going to be outreached, by like 7 inches.
Right.
Like a decent amount.
Yeah.
So I still was going to pick Chris to win because Chris is a legit all-out martial artist.
Right.
Like he freaking does everything. Right.
Yep.
Like if I found out that like, oh yeah, Chris has done sumo wrestling, it wouldn't even surprise me, right? Because he's done everything, right? And like it's a seriously high level, right? And just wait, he's gonna be like, actually, I had a buddy of mine who's done that before, and so anyway, so I remember just watching the fight and just seeing like his spacing was just impeccable. Now, a few clashes in, we all kind of realized, okay, Chris is at a different level than his opponent, right? And I'll give his opponent credit. His opponent didn't stop. He kept trying to fight.
Yep.
And Chris, and it's hard to do this throughout all 3 rounds. Chris never like really sandbagged it and just went like just milked it and just kind of showboat. He didn't do that, and he didn't just completely blow the guy out of the water. Like he probably could have just blitzed straight off the line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If he wanted to do this, he probably could have done it like 4 times in a row, just like pow, pow, pow. All right. But he didn't do that either. So to constantly be engaged, never really showboat the guy, never really take a clash off, never have a spacing off. Like that's exhausting. Right.
Right.
And sometimes it's taxing to know that you could, because he could have.
Right.
He could have just been like, I'm just sit back. Go ahead, hit me once.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take a clash off. It doesn't mean anything. And then go right back out there. And he never did that. So it's just overall, like this freaking guy. All right, he's got people should aspire in martial arts to be like a guy like Chris Walker.
Definitely.
And I remember feeling like that. Like, so within my organization, National Karate, there's been a lot of very good martial arts athletes. And I always, people would just kind of talk about, I'm going to be the best this and okay, I'm going to be the best this. And I remember feeling like I'm going to be the best black belt they've ever had. That's what I want to be.
Right.
And my like quest for something like that within a small organization, I feel like someone like Chris has just done like not just within a small organization like that, but just like within an entire sport, but even beyond the sport, because he does stuff even beyond the sport of sport karate.
Right.
So
it's impressive, man. It's awesome.
You're telling me.
So yeah, I mean, I was excited to see that. When I first saw, I didn't realize it was going to be a point fight, because then I saw like the weight difference. Like, wait a minute, he's going to go against a guy 245 pounds and continuous, which I still think he would have done it, but then when I was at the point, I was like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
Wouldn't you still have picked him?
Yeah, I would have.
I would have too.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, he knows how to fight.
The guy until he makes you not pick him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The other one, again, it kind of goes along with what we talked about. Just Brianna, man, just stepping up.
I got loads to get into with that fight.
Let's go into that right now.
So, Katie's okay. All right.
Yeah.
And I kind of had an idea that this is what I was going to see. All right. But it was very, very aggravating to watch. Extremely aggravating to watch. And the reason why I say that is because whether it was working or not, Katie was only going to do this one thing, this one way. She only knows how to fight by picking her leg up first to do something. It's not a fake. And it's not even like, all right, I'm going to pick it up and put it down. I'm going to pump one step back. And the only reason we say this, I shouldn't say this, it's the only thing she knows. The only thing she's demonstrated to the world, all right, is that's what she does. That's all she knows. That's what she's demonstrated to us. So whether she's better at something else or not, we have yet to see that. All right. Okay. So in the moment, like she's not pushing her opponent back, and she was doing that. She did get Brianna against the cage a few times, right, and was able to follow up and score. All right, and she was ahead early, like really early in the first round, and I'm like, all right. I remember thinking, like, dude, Brianna's a much better kicker than her, right? Why? What is she doing? Like, Brianna just kept going straight back, and I'm like, don't do this, right? You're better than this, right? And then Brianna's axe kick started to work, right? So, but Brianna is so much more talented than she is. And here's a note that I wrote. I said, Brianna is so much more talented, but is only using a fraction of what she can do.
Right.
She kept waiting for Katie to do her basic attack. And the problem is it worked.
Yeah.
So now it looks like Brianna is only that good because she was only demonstrating those things. But like I heard Carlos on CTE earlier this week, he goes, I'm going to make me change it. Right. I'm going to keep doing this one thing until you make me do something different. And I agree. And I kind of agree with that. But it's just like, I kind of wanted to see her go and set up her own technique rather than wait for Katie to come do it. And I use the analogy of like a shooting guard in basketball, right? There are guards that are extremely good, but can't create their own shot. All right. They might score more points. But the guy who can create his own shot is actually more valuable because when you have a broken play, he can create something out of nothing. Right. The guy who really can't create his own shot and doesn't really dribble. Right. Mm-hmm. He's only as good as the situation in front of him. Right. Which is kind of what Brianna was kind of doing that. She was kind of a counter fighter. So she was only as good as the situation in front of her. Right. And Katie never made her do anything different. And my goodness, those axe kicks.
Yeah, the axe kicks were wow, insane.
Yeah, there was a few of them that just sat her down. You will sit down now, thank you.
Nuts. Yeah. Nuts, man. Crazy stuff. Almost
pushed me out of my chair when she did that.
All right, we want to talk about the main event?
Yeah, let's talk about the main event.
All right. So I mean, that's the way I picked it, you know.
Oh, you picked it. I picked it the other way.
Yeah, well, I knew you did. I mean, we knew that was going to happen. So
not necessarily. I didn't know, right?
I saw what you picked. I saw on some of the posts.
Oh yeah, but I didn't necessarily. But before that moment, like I just made a knee-jerk reaction. Like I could see it both ways, obviously. Mm-hmm. So what I really looked at it as is, I'm like, okay, if John lets it go and cuts off the ring a little bit, right? I feel like he can get James in some bad positions, but he very rarely cut James off and cut the. Now it's not a ring, so that does give James a little bit more movement freedom. But I was wondering if James was really going to be moving the way he was throughout 3 rounds, right? Because John's style of fighting can last 5-6 rounds, right? Mm-hmm. You can do that without getting tired.
He doesn't put out. He doesn't have to put a lot of energy.
And I thought, like, it's possible James's movement gets him caught, right? And because when James is on, I mean, we saw when James is on, like, watch the heck out. Like, you're not beating this guy,
right?
But I'm like, throughout 3 rounds, that's a lot of energy to exert. That might have been some of the most movement we've seen in any virtual fight tour set match. Right?
Well, he showed that it can be done in that realm, you know.
And I'm glad he did. Because he really just showed, like, no, it doesn't have to be a straight line. That was the frustrating thing that I had with, like, Jalen Lazenby against
Justin, was it Justin?
Justin Jones, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Justin was really just going to go in a straight line, and Jalen sat right in front of him.
Right.
And I'm like, this is the only thing the guy can do decidingly better than you, and you're allowing him the opportunity to do that.
To do it. Yeah.
Whereas if that was James Poor fighting Justin, James would have never let Justin get off.
Right.
James would have been everywhere and made Justin kind of freeze and just do this all the time, trying to figure out where is he going to be, and then eventually he would just go.
Right.
But
so, I mean, for me, it's just I didn't see. So I think John's game plan and his style works for a 2-minute fight. It doesn't always work for this 3-round type thing because he never really has that get up and go to score. It's like it's more of just keeping it right here. At least in what we've seen lately on this. So,
well, I think James exposed a little bit of what how John could be beat as well. So James just didn't say, "Hey, look at me. Y'all must have forgot something."
Right.
He didn't just do that. He exposed a little bit of what we could see with like, all right, John's that good. Let's see how good he is. And that was what, and we'll get into this later, what I loved so much about once at that point it was MassLink when it came out, which you can watch all these fights and these videos.
Yeah.
Because before that, it was you had to be at the tournament and videotape it yourself. And then at that point, it was like, wait a minute, I can go back and just sit here and watch it.
Exactly.
From my desktop, because that's what they all were at that time.
Right.
Because nobody had a laptop. What is that? Come on a spaceship. Yeah. So, yeah. So with this fight, like I said, James kind of exposed a little bit of what you can do to John. There was a few times where James was moving so much and John thought he was going to circle altogether, and James really didn't move that far and just angled out and back fisted him. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. But yeah, man, I mean, I think it was a great show. Lots of good feedback from everyone. Again, just those takes of just, like again, the people that we talked about, really, they were the ones that stood out, and so I'm excited to see what's next with Virtual Fight Tour. I know that they'll be doing the overall again at Diamonds. So make sure you guys get ready to watch that. And I mean, again, Jesse's been doing great things. Congrats on 1 year anniversary. Congrats on, not only 1 year, but 10 events. I mean, that's huge. 10 events in a year.
Consistency, man.
That's consistency, man. So it's pretty awesome.
And he didn't rush to get into any. In fact, there was a couple where he wanted to do, but just wasn't able to do. So he would have done more.
Right. So pretty cool, man. So excited for those guys. Thank them for supporting what we do, and great stuff. All right. So
one last thing on the VFT. Who was it that fought Team Diamond? There was this one kid, Matt. He's not in front of me.
Ben's. Yeah. So there's Aaron and then Josiah.
I think it was Aaron. I could be wrong, but this dude's sidekick.
Was it the defensive sidekick or push sidekick?
He did them both. The way he throws them, he throws them really without a chamber.
I listened on CTE. I think they said Josiah has a really good sidekick.
That was it then.
Yeah.
All right. It's not in front of me, so I'm not looking at it right
now.
Yeah,
exactly.
I remember watching it with Troy, and Troy like pushed me out of my chair like a couple times. He's like, "This freaking sidekick here."
Yeah.
All right. And who did he drop? Dwight. And he's like, he was right. He's like, who is this kid? And I'm like, well, no, Dwight is actually really good. You just haven't seen the guy.
Right.
And he's like, well, doesn't look like it. And I'm like, no, I'm having to defend the guy who just got dropped by a sidekick. Right. And I'm like, no, he's actually really good. Like, who's this guy? And I'm like, actually, I don't know at all. Right.
Well, right.
I'm watching them.
Well, I mean, it's like if the first time you see Jack, fight, and the video you pull up is him, fighting Ross with getting dropped with the sidekick. I mean, come on. Yeah. It's not the same.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. So yeah, great stuff. I agree, man, Mike. Yeah. Let's pull that up if we can. This is what I've been thinking of too. Like, I can't wait for next level to get back to doing team fights. And I see if James is consistent with fighting and you have Tyson and Darren man, that's a great team, with a veteran
Absolutely.
to lead those guys. I mean, I see them being, them and straight up being the teams to deal with in the next
I think them and straight
next
up
3 years.
are going to be the teams to really worry about. And then the other one, and maybe this is a good segue, leave it up to you if you want to go there, would be if All Stars gets Elijah back in the States.
Right. Yep.
Because
exactly.
that's kind of, and when you get an All Stars team of Kevin Walker, Jack Felton, and Chris Walker, that's a freaking good team. Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Yes, they're a threat to win the whole thing.
Right.
But you add maybe the fastest guy in the world, right?
Yeah.
It's a little hard to
And then you also have someone they're grooming like Tobias, who's really stepping up,
He's a good guy. I like his style.
So, all right. So again, this weekend also was the first big event that Waco had in Europe. So the Hungarian World Cup happened, was a huge event. I saw today something like 3,200 registrations.
Those are registrations. Those are
yes. I think what that means is events registered for.
Yeah.
So again, they probably had over 1,000 competitors, it looked like, in there.
Yeah.
Great. They had big numbers in the full contact and such. Elijah won both of his divisions and then won the open weight. So he's, consistent right back at it.
Still the guy.
I think Connor McGlinchey won his division as well. Also, I saw that Iker from Mexico, who's also in proper, he won
as a good heavyweight.
Yeah, he won kick light. So he's
continuous.
Well, but with low kicks. Yeah.
So stupid continuous.
Yeah. So it was cool to see some of the videos of him doing that. And I mean, he looks in the best shape I've seen him in a long time.
He is a lot better. I remember seeing him like 5 years ago, at competitions, thinking like, you're not that good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's a lot better.
He's gotten a lot better. So I know that Proper had some of those guys there. And then the other guy, one of the Davids from Italy was there, and I'm not sure how he did. David, yeah, one of those. There's a couple of them, so I don't know which is which, but yeah. So that looked like a big event. There was a lot of full contact and ring sports, at that event. So they looked like those numbers were up. And I know even just from the way that Waco USA is growing, they've been really growing in their kickboxing and their ring sports. Big time. And so I think we're going to see a big growth in that in Waco all over the board. So congrats to those guys, everyone competing, to everyone who put on the event, because again, this is their first event that they've had since COVID. So at least a big event. So was a big step for them to move forward. So congratulations to those guys. All right. The next thing, anything else you want to touch on that or?
No, not really.
No, I mean, again,
I said everything that you would, I would have said everything that you just said.
Yeah.
And again, the key points I would have touched on.
I'm just excited to see that Elijah is still competing, because sometimes some of those guys, it looks like they're not going to. Some of the things he's put out there.
I think there would be more talking points if Elijah didn't win.
True.
That's exactly, and it's almost like, oh, Elijah won again.
Yeah.
But it's like, but yes, we did expect that.
Yeah.
Because you are at a different level. I mean, Tolly is very good, and I think it's. I'm not going to get his last name. Jeremy.
Yeah, just say that. Yeah. So
right. So, but Tolly's very good, and I think Tolly has bested him before. Right. But other than that, you're like,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of consistent guys from Italy that are all right, but I don't know if they've really challenged them that way.
Of very, very good guys. There's a lot of very, very good guys.
Right.
But the elite guys there's not as many.
Yeah.
So, which is not any, this is not
Right.
any different than the States. It's not like I'm ragging on anybody. I'm not, right?
No.
But we hold Elijah in like the conversation of, is he actually the best in the world? I think a different question, which, and I don't know if we'll ever see it again, is if Roman was there, would he be there? Because he hasn't not like really announced, like, is he done altogether?
Is
He
he
didn't
done?
really
Yeah.
say anything.
I don't know.
He hasn't said anything. And
Right.
the last time I talked to him, he hasn't really made a commitment one way or the other on it either. So with all the other guys, with all the other usual suspects that we know of, we either know they're done or they're not. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like, I think with Laszlo, we know he's done. He's the coach of the German national team, right? And I think and the Zolta's done. And
Zolt is done. Yep.
And you're right, Mike. Roman was there, but because Sonia won her light contact division, and I think she also won, I think she also won a point fighting division. I know she's very good at light contact, so she won a light contact division. So
yeah, I mean, and then who else went from around here? Hector Solari was there, but I don't know how he did. I didn't see his results or whatever. But I know he has, and several other from Mexico, they've made it a big point to go to those big events. So you'll see him at a lot of those competing with those guys. So that's only going to make him better and more well-rounded. So exciting event. On to another big moment in sport karate, Bellator. Bobby Cerronio, man, he had his debut for Bellator, but also his pro debut. All right, and his opponent didn't make weight, I guess, and then the other guys, another guy, same thing happened. So both of them end up fighting each other. So both of them, what was cool was that both of them were actually last minute replacements for each other, right? So both of them had to deal with that. And man, the first 2 rounds, Bobby just dominated. It was outstanding. Just seeing, his distance, his timing, the way that his wrestling is so good. And just, how he's using the sidekick to push off, using his movements, using his fakes from sport karate, and then mixing it up with good, solid hands, and then he was taking him down, dominating, doing a lot of great ground pound in the first 2, to where it looked like his opponent was like wanting to give up, wanting to quit. It was just like it was bad. And even in the second to third round in the break, he was just like, oh, I'm doing awful. And his coach had to tell the guy, calm down. Still got one more. You got to throw your hands. Now, that's not actually what happened, because Bobby put himself kind of in a bad situation. He took him down, and then the guy had pretty much a triangle on, but it wasn't effective for 4 minutes of the fight, and was just elbowing and everything. So the guy actually probably, in some eyes, might have won that round. I think one judge gave it to the one that round, but most everyone, it was all 3 rounds for Bobby. But Bobby was smart. Instead of, because some people from the outside are like, why is he staying in that position? Why is he staying right there? Because he knew the guy didn't have it in a way to end anything. And sometimes if you try to,
annoying, not effective.
Right. And he could at least just hold him there. Right. And sometimes if you try to immediately get out, you wedge yourself into a submission. You move yourself into it. So he did a good job on that. Just love the coaching of his dad. That whole place was just yelling Bobby. It was nuts, man.
Where was the fight taking place?
It was in San Jose. So both guys were from that area. So yeah, but everyone was cheering for Bobby.
So he right over there.
Yeah. So it was amazing, man, to see that. And I'm looking forward to his next one. So.
Well, that's another thing. Speaking of the next Bellator fight, I don't know if you remember this, but dude, I am psyched about the Michael Page
Yes,
coming up.
that's coming up.
He's fighting Lima again in the rematch because he's only lost one time.
Yep.
And it was on that. I don't want to call it. I mean, it was legit, but it was almost a lucky shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Mike, and what happened in Lima Page 1 was Mike Page was jumping in and out sideways, just looking like he's about to take off and blitz. Like, well, he literally does.
Yeah.
Right. So he's bouncing in and out. And then, oh boy, catches the timing perfectly, throws a leg kick right as Mike looks like he's about to come in. So, and Mike has chicken legs.
Yeah. Right.
So with any kind of contact with those legs, if he's not prepared for it, will literally flip him upside down.
Right.
So he timed it, kicked him in the legs, and then like took like a scooping uppercut, right? Like he was like on Street Fighter, right? And yeah, basically knocked him out on contact and then ground pounded him. So it was, I don't want to say it's a lucky shot. But it's like, wow.
No, but he needed that though. He needed that loss, I feel like. So
I mean, yeah, because it is a little irritating. I mean, I'm really cheering for the guy because, like I say, I like him way more as an MMA fighter, and he's better as an MMA fighter.
He is.
He was as a point fighter.
Right.
He's very good. All right. But for people, he is a little irritating with the amount of showboating, and he wears that like a badge of honor.
Yeah, he does.
1,000% he does. Which I'm like, you might as well, because you can't be like that and be like half in, half out. Like, no. Everybody loves me. Like, no, you got to put it like, I don't care what anybody says.
Right.
You know, hold your fist up in the air as you guys are, bowing in or touching gloves. That's what he's got. It's like, you got to wear the whole thing. You got to go the whole way. So I'm excited to see what that happens. That happens October 1st. So not this weekend, but next weekend.
Next weekend. Yeah. So lots of good stuff going on with point fighters that are doing MMA and doing kickboxing. So lots of cool stuff. So congrats, Bobby, and looking forward to make sure you guys go and watch Michael Page MVP.
So let's get into the bulk of this. So and it kind of touches on a little bit how I was searching for more of what happened at, the Hungarian tournament, and there wasn't really a lot of video there. So is this a good segue?
I guess it's not really what I'm talking about, but I'll explain to you what I did this weekend. And then we'll kind of get into the several things. So,
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, all right. So again, I was at a tournament in North Carolina this weekend. Now, right now, at several of the events that have been going on locally, there is a Discovery Channel is doing a reality show. Okay. On sport karate schools, all right, and a lot of it is based on them going to tournaments and competing. So they've kind of picked these.
In what area?
North Carolina, Virginia area.
So the Discovery Channel is just like focusing on that area.
Pretty much, and most of three of the schools are around the same area, within like an hour of each other, and then another one is in Northern Virginia.
So it's for the schools. Or are they following just kind of like the general culture in that area?
It's more of the schools. So they've kind of picked those 4 schools. They go to their schools. They film stuff.
That would make better TV, I suppose.
So they are looking at the event, but so now that doesn't mean they don't talk to other people there or film other people. They're filming the whole thing, right? But their main thing is the stories of those schools. So again, we have these pretty small, local event, 200 something people that have now a camera crew of like 20 people. And it's kind of nuts, right? So you're talking about these small events.
You can't make that up.
Right. So it's just different there. And again, I'm not trying to make this in a negative thing, but there's positives and negatives of having camera crews at events, right? And so what are maybe some of the pros and cons? So I'm going to tell you some of the stuff. Again, first time, you have young kids, the first time they go to a tournament and there's a mic, in their ring hanging over and then you have 2 other camera guys right here. They're like, what is going on? I didn't sign up for this, right? They can't focus. They're freaking out, right?
They can't focus on their fight.
It's completely different. Yeah. So there's that. The other thing is like several things. they asked, and I don't know, I haven't asked the promoters, because this has happened in a couple of tournaments. I haven't asked the promoters like what they were requiring them to do, or if it's a, hey, we're going to show up and film this for this, and that's it. But this time it kind of seemed like they were asking for like a school lineup. They wanted, a national anthem, things like that, and they had certain people they wanted to do it that were based on their show. So to me, it was kind of weird on that part. It was like, all right, listen, like we're already 2 hours behind. We don't need a school lineup. Let's go. Let's
they don't
go.
care. See, that's the thing.
Yeah. So they will sit there all day long and do it.
Because to them, they're gonna chop that stuff up in the
right
3.5 minutes.
Right.
Dude, I remember. Here's a great example of that. Natalia Klei-Wisniewska. She's from Germany, trained with us for years and years and years.
Right.
She was on American Ninja Warrior, right? And so she said, well, she did it like a couple of times, and she was like, yeah, I fell on like the second obstacle.
Yeah.
Because it was so wet. And I'm like, what do you mean it was so wet? She goes, we ran at 3 a.m. I'm like, why were you guys doing it at 3 a.m? There's all the sorts to do. She goes, they said they wanted to do it then because it's better lighting for TV. So
right.
like, and then now when as I've glanced through the TV and I've seen it, if you ever watch it, like it's pitch black.
It is. Yeah, it is better lighting.
Like,
that's right.
You guys were really doing this at like 2, 3, 4 a.m. That's
crazy.
Freaking impossible for the people going. You literally do it just for lighting. Like that's
right.
But they don't care about you. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care about what that makes your event like. They just care about the shot.
Right. And so it's just kind of one of those things. It's a whole different thing than a lot of people have dealt with. And so, and then you have the same thing. It's like, well, why aren't they filming us? Why are they only filming these people? They have, they can't film everything, and it can't just be, it has to have stories, there has to be stories in it. So that's one of the things they're doing. And no, Mike, they're not trying to match it up to where certain people win for TV. No, they're not doing that.
They don't even care about them.
But again, they like at this event, all 4 of those schools were there. So a lot of times they're going to end up going to each shows somehow. Right. I know that they've done some other events as well, where it was just those 4 schools doing something, together. But that is something that's going on in the Southeast and the Virginia area. So again, it just kind of made me think, like, what else are some positives and negatives that you could think of? Again, for me, I think of local kids, first timer kids. The other thing is just like some tournaments that are doing this and want it to be focused on the TV. They're having to cut out musical forms because they can't have any of the music on TV because of rights, right? So they're just saying there's no
pro.
Oh, that could be a pro. Oh, I know.
Like I actually remember a tournament where the promoter was so annoyed with the music because they were in a gymnasium.
Yeah.
That he rented out in this school, in this high school, he rented out a separate area, a separate small gym that he didn't need for the tournament. He goes, and this is what he said to me. He goes, all that musical form, right? That's going in that room. And I'm like, I mean, come on. You can't really. He's like, no, it is. And the only music that was ever allowed was in Grants.
Okay.
So you had like 4 or 5, because at that point it was just youth forms grand.
Right.
Men's and women's.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
Right. So that's why I'm like, you had like 4 or 5, things. That was it. And it actually made it a lot easier for like a new student coming in. Think of it as a new student coming in, and you just got just blasting the gym, right? And you got a 5-year-old. He's been in karate a month and a half, 2, 3 months, right? And he's going in there, and he's already going to be shocked, right? There's excitement, but then there's all these people, and then you got this thing. Like, yeah, get that. It's not necessary.
Right.
Get it out. So in some ways, maybe cutting out the musical forms isn't all bad.
Well, I'll get into that later in our next topic, but because that has a lot to do with some problems that local events do. But Yeah, so I think for the camera crews thing, the other thing for me is I notice people playing up a little bit
Oh, hell yeah.
to it, which happens, right? But I mean, there were some altercations between some kids that I felt like
Wouldn't really have
the
been there.
instructor, yeah, but I feel like the instructor were egging it on to play that role instead of being an actual martial art and say, "Hey, calm down, get your stuff together," instead of egging it on and wanting that to happen. And so there was a lot of things like that, and it happened several times as me being the center, that I had to just cool it and control it. So yeah.
Right, check it. So in the end, this is a reality TV show, right?
Right.
Potentially. Okay. So
Nah,
reality
I think
TV show.
it's going to happen. So.
All right. So it's happening. So it's a reality TV show.
Right. And I don't know how it looks yet because it hasn't been presented, but they've done a lot since let's see, July all the way to now. They've been at several events. So
all right. So check it. So this is a compromise I had with my wife. Right. So if like at the end of the night we're working on stuff, she's doing some work, I'm doing some work. She wants to watch a reality. She wants all of them. Right.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm not going to do all of them. Right. So she got me in, like I compromised. I'll watch The Bachelor with her or The Bachelorette, which I'm always like, this is stupid. Right. But she got me because there was like a long time ago, like years and years, there was like this Bachelorette that was from Minnesota. And she was from a town that was not that far from where I'm like, all right, you got me. I'm at least interested. Right. So then I'm like, I'm in there and I'm like, well, why are we even thinking about what their decisions are? You're single, you're however old. What, you don't have good decision-making skills.
Right.
So obviously it doesn't matter what you think. You're going to pick somebody stupid, right? Because everybody you think like, of course they're not going to, because you're a dumb person. Because if you weren't, like, obviously you're attractive and you're put together and you're some kind of successful. You should, if the goal was to be married, you would. Otherwise, you're failing. Anyway, but they always have some kind of pick that doesn't make any freaking sense. I was like, oh, that's a producer pick, right? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, that's a producer pick. Like, obviously, it's just for conflict. That's the reason they do that. Because outside of that, you have a dumb storyline. Dumb storyline. There's nothing interesting about this show unless you bring this guy or girl back on. So that altercation, I actually think could be cool, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It can be.
Who would now? I was thinking of this as you were talking though. If you could pick like this school, who would be perfect for TV?
School is hard because we don't really see many schools anymore, which is an issue in itself. Like school rivalries, like we would. But
if there was like, if you only followed like, I'm going to follow this school and these people, and whatever they do, it's going to be a reality TV show around them.
Right.
Oh, dude, for me, number one with a bullet is Straight Up with Joe Greenhaw.
Yeah. Okay. I think of that as a team.
That is quality TV.
But
I don't care what they're doing. I don't care if they're going out for hot dogs. I want to watch that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of who I was thinking. Again, you said school, so I know it's a school, but yeah, so I think of team. Yeah, but again, so yeah, I would say them definitely. I would say them definitely. I mean,
and then Conroy's American Martial Arts. Heck yes.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, just Conroy doesn't have a team out, and they don't, maybe it would get them out there to do it. Well, and I even think the same thing with Rodriguez. I think if you had that area, that would be a cool area to do it in,
Yeah, Mike's right. It's team Straight Up, because team school Straight Up.
Right.
Yeah, they would be like high level entertainment.
Yeah, definitely. Right. I didn't really get into the pros of it. I do think that the pros of it are that people are excited about the possibility of something, so that gets people hyped up. I had one of my students that, hadn't really gotten into, wants to compete as much, but it's just kind of like, another local just to get ready for next year or whatever else is coming up. And, it kind of hyped him up to do more and to get excited about it, So I think that does, for those people that need that or that high level, I think that definitely helps. I do think there's a certain level of trying to figure out timing wise, because you're trying to run your event and there's more people in the way of trying to get it, done the way you want to. But yeah, I mean, so I'm excited to see how it comes out. And, I've talked to several of the guys, the director, producer and stuff. And I know in their heart, they're trying to make it a good presentation, so hopefully that's what happens. And it's a good representation of the sport and martial arts. So
I'm going to disagree with Mike. Mike said the Plowden would be good for TV. I'm going to say no, it wouldn't. And for the reason of, because they just button down, work hard, and win.
Right.
There's not a lot of storyline. Willie Hicks relocated back to Detroit and was there. Now it would be fantastic. He would be the star of the show.
That's right. I think, definitely there's ways to do it all over, like right now they're in a certain region. They could do that north kind of Rhode Island area, Boston area, and then Texas would be cool, Georgia. So be interesting, man. All right. Last little thing. I know this could be, we'll probably end the show like this, but so local events and some things. I went to a tournament Saturday. The promoter, I still feel like did a great job. Honored everything that he said he was going to do. His name's Travis Henson. Awesome guy, great martial artist. I had a great time competing, but again, I didn't compete till 7. So it was a long day of judging and coaching and stuff. And just on another thing, it was cool for me because I finally got someone not that I don't have people competitive to compete against in my area, but someone that I felt like was talent-wise right at my level. And so it was great. I competed against a guy named Andy Mangione. He hasn't really competed in a long time, he had said 10 years or 12 years, but he used to be high level in the 90s. His dad was a big guy in the Ishinru in the area and had tournaments and stuff. So it was awesome to compete against him. Oh, there he is. And so he did an awesome job. We tied actually for the grand, and then he ended up winning 2 judges to 1 in the tiebreaker. So it was really cool to compete and help me get my my stuff together too, because sometimes when you're expecting to win all the time, like, oh, all right, here we go, you kind of get a little relaxed. And maybe, so it was exciting. Loved his forms. Definitely had that 90 style of traditional forms, if you kind of remember, but it wasn't like overly where it wasn't like Gabe Naga, where it's squatting down and like really solid martial arts and super strong.
Very explosive from point to point.
Right. But still low stances, but not overly where it was, we've seen where it got bad, right, in the 90s, right, where it was right.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, or even the 2000s.
Yeah, I was gonna say early 2000s. It was probably the worst.
So it was awesome to compete and excited to do the same and do that again with him. So, but yeah. All right. So some of the common mistakes I feel like local promoters make is trying to do it all themselves, trying to be the head coordinator at their own event, running the event. And that the problem is that if you're the only person to know the answers, then you just have the whole day, you just have a line of people asking you everything, and then nothing gets done. So got to delegate on that. I definitely, I think that
it works if there's, 4 rings.
Right. But not when you have actually 2 gymnasiums, when you're trying to run, so that's one thing. The other is, again, have some coordinators, especially with 2 rings, have someone run in that one room and someone run another one, and you be the person to answer the questions from them. But every other Tom, Dick, and Harry is not coming to you to ask you on everything, So I think that, that's one of the key things there. On that, we've had a problem locally in our area, and in the past 2 or 3 tournaments has been, okay, well, we can't start the rest of the tournament until breaking and musicals ends. And so that's
I
been a
quickly
big
solve that.
mistake.
Get rid of breaking and do musical
So
early.
so that, and we've had a lot of people do the musicals and do the breaking. So it's been a good thing for that. But you can still run other things while you are, while you're doing the musicals. So like if you could do the 10 and under musicals in 2 rings and then start the 11, 17 stuff, or do the opposite. There's other ways to do it. And I think that, I'm not bashing anyone. I just think a lot of it comes from promoters need to ask for help. They need to ask other people for help on planning their event and such.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yep.
Do you think it would do you think if he would have ended like divisions like breaking, like if they just didn't exist, divisions like breaking, maybe if was there team form divisions?
There wasn't team form. There was he also, I think, added too much. Tried to do a little too much.
So if you got rid
too
of
many
those,
grands. There was grands for even underbelt sparring, points fighting for kids, stuff like that. There's continuous fighting. There was grappling, and a lot of that didn't go until after everything else was done. So yeah, I mean, I ended up just not even fighting because I had a couple kids with me that I was taking back, and I was like, all right.
I'm not going to make them wait 3 more hours.
Yeah, it's time to go.
So if he would have ran normal forms weapon fighting, could he have been done by 5?
Yeah, definitely.
Or earlier?
Yeah, earlier. And again, I think.
And that's the thing. Is if you'd have done
again, this isn't just him. This has happened the last tournament, the last one. These are all Jeff McGregor's tournament. A lot of different ones we've had. This has happened. It's been the whole. We can't. I feel like this happens at local tournaments because some of them aren't used to the bigger ones where the competitors are used to going from ring to ring and competing and doing stuff, sometimes, now if you feel like you need to do that, then create it to where they're side by side, right? So if I have, say, the musicals for the, let's say 10 and under or 7 and under division is going to be at ring 1, have 7 and under weapons, forms of fighting in ring 2. And that way it's not that far for them to move back and forth, there's lots of ways to do it. So
I kind of asked you, like, all right, if they did just form fighting weapons, it would have been quicker. But I feel like, what it reminds me of, it sounds strange. It reminds me of McDonald's. Okay. So, and actually, because like Ray Kroc didn't found McDonald's.
No.
The founder of McDonald's.
No.
And actually, they kind of made like a little movie / documentary on it, right? With I think it was.
I don't know. I watched
But it was actually kind of interesting. But
I watched the documentary called "The Food That Made Us."
Yes.
Yeah, and that talks about a lot of different ones, it touches on that. Yeah, which is a good one.
Essentially, what McDonald's decided is, all right, fast food. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to be the best at it. And we find a flaw that it takes a long time for someone to make very simple food. We're going to develop a system, and we're only going to focus on these 3 things.
Yep.
Soda, burgers, fries. That's it. We're not making anything else.
Yep.
Well, what about fried chicken? People love fried chicken. They can't get it here. We're just going to focus on these 3 things, and we're going to be phenomenal at it.
Yep.
We're going to have a system where they're going to order their burger and fries, and they're going to have it in 45 seconds, right? And so then, pow, there it is. So if they would do that at this tournament, right? Think of what it would be like.
Right.
Any tournament. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any tournament. And you just say, we're not.
And you get that done. Yeah.
The tournaments where they do everything.
Yeah.
Those are the national tournaments where they have everything type of resources.
Yes, it's true.
Because
that's the thing, the resources. Yep.
Right. Like if you want everything in that area, the U.S. Capitol Classics was earlier. Should have went there. Right. Because for this, we're doing this.
Right.
Well, we love breaking. We're a high school that does breaking. I feel for you. I just don't have the resources to be able to do that.
do it right now. Yeah.
And then maybe when that conversation happens, they can go, well, I'll run the breaking. Okay. But I'm not going to touch it.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so one of the tournaments that this happened at, and we were there till 8, at night
That's
earlier
wild.
this year, he already has made it that he's going to go to 2 days, and he has me running the Friday night stuff, and that way it goes and it's done, and then the Saturday is just weapons, forms, fighting, the regular stuff.
That's good.
So I think there's changes to be made. I think we just sometimes we try to overdo it, and I know I did the same thing sometimes with my tournaments, like too many grands, too many this and that, and it's just all about running it efficiently. I'm okay with being in a tournament all day, huh?
Sometimes you don't know until you've done it.
Right, exactly. You don't know until you've really done it. No. Exactly. So, I think this is just what happens sometimes. And again, I feel like more tournaments, more promoters need coaches. We talked about this last week. Coaches need coaches. Adults need coaches.
Show, by the way.
I think promoters need coaches.
Casey Nash,
yes,
and Lauren Carney. That was a fantastic.
That was a great show.
If you guys didn't hear last week's episode, go back and check that one out because that was fantastic. Sorry.
Yeah, I went back and listened to it as well, and it was awesome. There was so much great stuff. But again, I feel like karate school owners. A lot of us have coaches that help us. We have people that we talk to for help. I think that needs to be the same thing for sport karate tournaments, and not just local ones. There's always someone that either give you a new idea or a different perspective on how to look at it. And again, a lot of times when we're in that promoter's chair, we look at it only from that angle and not the other ones. So it's good to each tournament maybe do a different job, And
what do you think is like the next thing that's going to happen? Like for tournaments, it was always like, all right, now it's going to be media. It's going to be
right.
videos that are going to be all the time. And right now, it's, I guess, shows like us.
Right. That's true.
We would really kind of be like that next thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, I think so, because I feel like that's going to be happening. You're going to have more interviews and things going on. You're going to have more things like that.
And there really should be, because like more tournaments produce more tournaments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
More media companies produce more media companies.
I mean, again, for a while, I think it was, Uventex and that is become almost a staple. I still, it's still not a thing at local events. So I think once that kind of gets there, it's going to just become the norm. But yeah, so I mean, I do think, I don't know what the next thing will be.
Here's kind of what I was thinking.
Okay.
And I thought it was going to happen by now. When TDE partnered with Taco Bell.
Right.
I thought, here it comes. Right. And I thought Taco Bell was going to sponsor a national karate tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I thought, here it goes. All right. And they're going to do that. And now there's a serious reason for them to be involved.
Yeah.
Because I thought about it like, well, the sponsor karate team, you're just shelling money. There's no return on investment.
Right.
There's nothing. All right. So to shell a little bit more, now you gain profit now you can fund that karate team.
Right.
And then now there's a reason. Now literally everything's a write-off. You're still turning a profit, right? It just makes sense, right? And someone like Taco Bell has the resources to where they can do that without having to worry about, are we going to take a hit on this, right? They could just go all in and know we're Taco frickin' Bell, all right?
Yeah.
People are going to come, all right? We're Taco frickin' Bell. Yeah. We're not worried about, are we going to be able to get enough rooms? We'll just buy all the rooms, right? So I think something like that was already going to happen. So that's what I'm whether it's someone like, I already reached out to them like decades ago, so I'm not putting anything. Whether it's someone like Red Bull, right? I didn't talk to the right people. All right. Or someone like, or something like that is just like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's do this. We have this guy that we trust. Well, we'll get around them and their school and their organization or their karate tournament. Or fuck, we'll start our own karate tournament. All right. And we'll use, wow.
And we'll hire these people to run it. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Got it. I hope.
That could be, and I feel like it could be. I feel like it could be the thing with some of the sponsors that we're seeing coming in, and that could be another episode. Maybe we talk next week or the week after about that. So,
if anybody's got any info on that, they're like, "Oh, Alex, yeah, that's happening. You just don't know."
Right. It could be.
Tell me, all right,
man.
So everybody's so secretive. Everybody's so secretive in this industry. And nobody wants to tell everybody, and nobody wants to tell anybody anything until it's like already happened.
Well, because again, if you're the one that just ends up being that person that talks, oh yeah, we're going to do this, and then none of it happens, no one believes you. So wait until it comes out. But yeah. So next week we'll get you guys info if we have we're working on getting everyone locked in for next week's episode. But
we were supposed to have the Legends episode.
Yeah, so week. We're not this week. No, next week. We're planning on next week. Yep,
it's happening next week.
Yep. So just getting everybody locked in. So we'll have Elsa Cordero. For the third time on our show, we'll have Arlene Lemus, who has been an amazing supporter of our show. And an amazing
she's been gold every single time she's been on.
It's been great, but she's been someone who's told everyone about it as well. So we really appreciate that. And then Christine Rodriguez will be on. This will be her first time. And then Helen Chung will be on.
Wow.
Yep. So pretty exciting. So it's going to be great. So check out next week's show. If you guys haven't listened to last week's, get into the archives, guys, and we have over 2 years worth of episodes, man. So pretty crazy.
Yeah, if you guys, there's some gems.
Yes,
there's some gems in there. Hey, what you got going on this weekend?
Let's see.
Not at a karate tournament, Jeff. You always had a karate tournament.
I could. But I'd like to stay home and do some family stuff. So
do some family stuff. Shelly's eventually going to kick you in the nuts.
I know. Exactly.
But speaking of, it's getting kicked in the nuts if you do something wrong. It's actually Lindsay's birthday this weekend.
Oh, all right. Happy birthday.
But she's like extremely pregnant. So
right.
She's due. Like it's coming up, man. So
dang.
She's just got a few weeks left, and who knows? Maybe I'll do the show from the hospital. Who knows? I don't know.
Right.
But yeah. So she's just like not comfortable at all. She was ready to be done being pregnant like 3 weeks into this pregnancy.
Yeah,
it hasn't been great. We still have no idea what we're gonna name this boy. We keep kicking names around. I suggested Jeff, and she said that's the dumbest name I've ever heard.
Wow! All right.
No, but I'm serious though. We don't know what we're gonna name him. Right?
I'll be praying for you, man.
I'm not joking about that one. All right, but yeah, we're gonna have a fun time. She wants to go to a concert, and I'm like,
wow,
you are very pregnant. Are you sure you're gonna like being on your feet?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but do whatever you want.
All right then, man. Yeah, so you're gonna have an eventful weekend.
I guess.
Yeah, it's my brother's birthday this weekend as well. So
which one? Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
The 25th. Yep. So pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. All right, guys. Thank y'all for joining us. Share, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or whatever way you listen to it, and give us a review. And
go ahead and leave us a review. Leave us a comment.
You know what? Gene's birthday is this Friday too.
I saw that. So I don't know how old Gene's gonna be. All right. Well, I gotta figure he's older than Travis. To figure a few years, he's got to be like what, 44, maybe somewhere around there.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. All right. Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Gene.
This has been a great episode. This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week. Are we done yet? Oh. All right.
It's a fun time. Don't worry about it. Producer's got us taken care of. You guys are getting the extended version.
Maybe.
Yeah. What'd you have to drink tonight?
What?
This is how it goes, guys. No, we're gonna banter now. Now we're bantering. You got that? No, I got a little Jameson right here.
I have just water.